because if you just want to use like the handheld thing to maybe wash off your feet or wash the sand off your legs or something, make sure you don't have it turned to the top because you're gonna get wet. I'm not saying, that happened to me. It could happen to you, but I would never make that mistake, of course not. It is Sunday, October 1st, 2023, and on this week's edition of Sunday SofaTime, we're comparing some cruise cabins. I cannot believe it is October already. In just a few weeks, my next big adventure begins where I'm going to be testing the Margaritaville at Sea ship. I'm going to be on the Celebrity Equinox. I'm going to be in Miami, and I'm going to be on the Independence of the Seas. And cruising is something that I know a lot of you are interested in. That's why you come here to the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. And of course, the cabin that you stay in while you're cruising, or the hotel room that you stay in when you're at a hotel, it's always really important. And I like to see these sort of comparison videos where you see like side by side what it is you're gonna get if you decide to book this hotel or book this cruise ship. So today we're gonna do that. We're gonna look at a balcony cabin on the Symphony of the Seas, which is Royal Caribbean's Oasis Class, but most of the newer Royal Caribbean ships have basically exactly this same cabin, and we're gonna compare it to a balcony cabin on Virgin Voyages. And be sure to watch to the end because I made a discovery while researching this video that was kind of surprising to me. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. I travel all around the world to popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. I also wrote a book called Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. I'm having trouble pronouncing the title of my own book. Maybe it's because I'm so excited. This month, I broke a record for the most books sold in a month this year. It's a personal record. I mean, I'm not a New York Times bestseller by any means, but thank you to everybody who's shown me a little bit of extra support and gotten a copy of Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. If you're interested in checking it out, it's available on Amazon now. So let us head over to the Virgin Voyages cabin. On Virgin, they call these cabins sea terraces instead of just saying it's a balcony cabin. And I have to say, when it comes to like curb appeal, the first impression that you get of the cabin, I don't think I've stayed on any cruise ship in a standard class of cabin and had this awesome first impression. The automation in the blinds opens them up when you enter the room. So you have just this really cool, like welcoming view. You walk in, the blinds open, the sun comes in. It's a really, really cool thing. And it's a great first impression. Whereas on Royal Caribbean, you open the cabin door and you just see the cabin. I mean, it's a nice cabin. I'm not saying that the cabin itself isn't nice, and of course we're going to be dissecting all of it soon, but just sort of the curb appeal. The first impression is so much better on Virgin Voyages, and it's better than just about any other ship I've been on. The next thing I want to compare is the actual balcony space. Virgin Voyages offers something also that I have not experienced on any other cruise ship, not only these automated blinds that open and close on their own, but every balcony cabin or every sea terrace on Virgin Voyages includes a hammock, which is something really special. I'm personally not a fan of hammocks. I don't think laying in that sort of, like crouched position is comfortable. And on a cruise ship, it's also swaying and moving the whole time. I know some people would be really into that. It's not my thing. Virgin Voyages also offers 2 chairs and a small table on the balcony, and the balcony space, I would say, is average. This was just a standard balcony cabin. Moving over to the Symphony of the Seas, you can see here also 2 chairs, a little table. There are some differences to mention, and that is the chairs on Royal Caribbean are with fabric, or it's some kind of plastic, rubbery fabric type of stuff. So they're a little bit more comfortable, and Royal Caribbean's chairs also come with a little footrest, and you can change the angle of the back to make them kind of like loungers, whereas the furniture on Virgin Voyages is metal, so it's all metal, that's different. And you get total waffle butt if you sit on the ones on Virgin Voyages because they have these little holes in them. So I would say if we're gonna be giving out points, Royal Caribbean definitely wins for the standard furniture on the balcony. And of course, balcony views vary. The view that I had on the Virgin cruise was a spectacular sunny view, and on the Symphony of the Seas, when I recorded, the sun wasn't like streaming in through the window, but when you go on your cruise, you will have different views out of the window as well, obviously.
Happier than ever, like I never thought forever was you.
Bed is a factor that I know is important to a lot of people, and on some cruise ships, the bed is a modified size. It's not like a standard size, because what it is it's two smaller beds pushed together, and then they can always push them apart to make two separate beds, which is what I'll be doing when I cruise with my sister on the Independence of the Seas. You can see the bed setup here on Virgin Voyages is pretty standard. It's a normal size bed. One interesting thing is, this is also an important thing, I think, nowadays. There is USB ports and outlet on one side of the bed, and on the other side of the bed, there is also a power station, but it's further away, and I'm going to tell you about that reason in a minute. Technically, there are charging stations or charging possibilities on each side of the bed, but on Virgin Voyages, the one side is much further away, and that's because, as you can see here, you can change the setup of the bed situation into a sofa situation. So this is a concept that was introduced by Virgin Voyages when they first started cruising a couple years ago, and it was supposed to be standard that during the day your cabin was always made into like a living room area with just this sofa setup, and then at night when you went to dinner, the cabin stewards would turn it into a bed. Well, nowadays, as far as I know, they don't do that anymore. I think you have to actually request to have the bed turned into a sofa, which is what we did to get these recordings, but it's so much more work for the cabin stewards, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons that they decided to have it just sort of standard made into a bed. But this is something that's very interesting that no other cruise line that I know of offers. Taking a look at the bed over on Royal Caribbean, also a standard size bed, but you'll notice the feet of the bed, like the bottom part of the bed, is a little bit rounded. So these also are not standard mattresses. It's a little bit of a different shape. You can also see like through the bump in the middle that this is two beds pushed together that can also be separated. In our cabin on the Symphony of the Seas, there was a power supply on one side of the bed, and on the other side of the bed, there was only a USB charger in the phone. So if you want to charge your phone, or if you have like one of those CPAP machines, or if you need a little fan like I do, and I know a lot of you do, please let me know if you are a sleep with a fan kind of person. Anyways, if you need to have power going to two devices, then in this cabin, you're gonna have to choose one of them. Kind of like choosing which one is your favorite kid.
Do I want to charge my phone, or do I want my fan?
I can't decide.
We're gonna continue comparing these cabins, looking at the sofa and seating possibilities, looking at the storage possibilities, which is something you're gonna see that Virgin is really lacking in, and a couple other things, and I'm gonna tell you about that thing that really surprised me when I found it out. But before we continue, I would just like to invite you to subscribe to the Very Unofficial Travel Guides here on YouTube. I make new videos every week. Usually one travel vlog goes online during the week time, which is a video showing something that I actually experienced firsthand. And then on the weekends, I sit down here in front of the red sofa and talk about some travel related topic. This week, it's comparing cruise cabins. Who knows what it'll be next week?
If you subscribe, you'll find out.
Press that thumbs up, and you can also check out the Very Unofficial Travel Guides on Facebook. All right, let's talk about the sofa and seating possibilities. This is where it starts to get kind of weird when it comes to Virgin Voyages. If you don't have the bed turned into a sofa, which I'm pretty sure most people don't, the only other place to sit in the Virgin cabin is this one little chair, or there's a little red like stool by the table area. There isn't a sofa, like a proper sofa, like you have in almost every other cruise cabin I've been in. You can see here on Royal Caribbean, it is a full-size sofa that also can be turned into a bed for your friends, for your kids, whoever. And it's just nice to have like this sort of lounging possibility where two people can sit there together. I just feel like that's something that Virgin Voyages is really lacking in this innovative cabin design that they created. Of course, like I said, you can have a sofa, but you can't have a sofa and a bed. Another thing you need to choose. Another thing that I feel like the Virgin Voyages cabin is really lacking in is the cubbies and countertops, any kind of space to sort of put things on or in. You can see here, this is basically all the counter space that you have in the cabin. There is a small fridge down below, but look at how cluttered this is with our stuff, because there's basically no other thing to put things on top of other than the little table by the one single chair. Virgin Voyages also only offers a very small closet space with just a couple little drawers that fit like 4 or 5 t-shirts in each of them. They are really shallow drawers. And other than that, there's 2 cubbies next door for shoes basically, and then a lot of space to hang up your stuff. So if you're gonna unpack your clothes and your shoes while on your Virgin Voyages cruise, basically you're going to be hanging most of it up. Something I think a lot of people have criticized on Virgin Voyages, and something that we struggled with to keep organized while we were on our cruise as well. Comparing this to Royal Caribbean, where you have a full like little dresser over here with several drawers in it, including a mini fridge. There's a table that you can use as a desk, or you can move it over to the sofa to have a little work area and sit on the sofa. Or if you want to enjoy room service with whoever you're traveling with, then you can sit together at this table, maybe watch some TV. It's just, there is so much more space to put stuff on and in the Royal Caribbean cabin. Not only, like I said, this little dresser and the mini fridge, but next to the bed, there are also 2 closet possibilities. On the one side, there are more drawers and the safe, and on the other side, there is like a dedicated hanging space, which also has some cubby and storage space at the bottom. So when it comes to closets and storage space, not only does Royal Caribbean win, but Royal Caribbean just offers a basic average space of what you would expect in a hotel room or on a cruise ship, and Virgin Voyages offers like way less. What's up with that, Virgin Voyages? All right, let's talk about the bathrooms and of course the bathroom doors. I love having my privacy in the bathroom. I don't need a see-through door. I don't need one of these sliding doors that leaves like that much space in between the wall and the door. I need a door. And I'm happy to say that both of these cabins have Morgan-approved bathroom doors. Checking out Virgin Voyages, first of all, one thing that's interesting about Virgin is they do offer sort of heightened amenities even in the standard cabins. They have towels that are just for the bathrooms. I know that sounds like a little thing, but it just seems a little bit more fancy because it's not the same towels that are used like all over the place. There's special towels for the bathrooms, and then there's towels for the pool and towels for the shower and stuff like that. The soaps that they provide in the shower are also very definitely a matter of taste, but the perfumes that they use are very nice, and they also smell kind of expensive. In fact, on our first Virgin cruise, we splurged and stayed in a Rockstar suite, and we got to take some of these home. And what's interesting was I thought that those amenities were created just for the suites, and that if you stay in a standard cabin, you get different soaps, but the soap that's inside both of the packaging is the same, but the packaging is different, giving the impression that you're getting a different soap, but it's actually the same stuff that's in these 2. Another interesting thing about the bathroom in our Virgin Voyages cabin is there are 2 shower heads. One you can take in your hand and spray yourself, and the other one is a rainfall shower from the top. And make sure you turn the lever the right way before you turn on the water, because if you just want to use like the handheld thing to maybe wash off your feet or wash the sand off your legs or something, make sure you don't have it turned to the top because you're gonna get wet. I'm not saying, that happened to me. It could happen to you, but I would never make that mistake, of course not. Overall, the counter space on Virgin Voyages is, I would also say, maybe a little bit smaller than average, and I feel like the bathroom space in general is a little bit smaller than average. And you'll see that when we compare it now to the Symphony of the Seas. This is just a much better layout. The placing of the shower and the toilet compared to the counter, it fits a little bit better, and you can see with the shelves here and the open glass sort of rounded cabin door on the shower, it just seems a little bit bigger. I can't remember any specific details about there being better or worse water pressure on one ship or the other, so they must have both been okay. And if I was giving out points, I would vote for the bathroom on the Symphony of the Seas just because there was more space to put your stuff and it just all together felt bigger. Okay, here's the thing that was really surprising to me when I read it, and I think it might surprise you too, especially if you have cruised in both of these cabin classes. I went to cruisemapper.com to see what the square footage was of these cabins, and even though the Royal Caribbean cabin seems in every sense bigger, the Virgin Voyages cabin actually has more square feet. What? I don't know if this is a mistake maybe, but they said that the Royal Caribbean standard balcony cabins are 180 square feet or 17 square meters, and the Virgin Voyages standard ocean view terraces are 185 square feet, which is like 17.19 square meters. And if that is the case, it just proves how important design is. I think one of the reasons that the Virgin Voyages cabin is designed the way it is because they thought that having less furnishings in the cabin would make it seem bigger and airier. The Royal Caribbean cabin is 5 square feet smaller, which is, like the size of a closet maybe, and has more stuff in it, but the way it is set up makes it somehow feel bigger. I was really surprised to read that, and yeah, like I said, that's how important design can be for optimizing a space. How do you feel about this comparison? Did you learn anything that you didn't know already? Did it help you make a decision about booking one of these ships or another? And please let me know in the comments below if you would like to see more of these side-by-side comparisons. We can compare NCL to Royal Caribbean, we can compare Costa to MSC, we can compare Disney to Cunard. Let me know which ones you want to see in the comments. And speaking of comments, now comes the time on Sunday Sofa Time where I comment on your comments live on air. In last week's Sunday Sofa Time, I told you about taking this Margaritaville at Sea cruise. A lot of people have some very strong opinions about this, and if you watch almost all of the video reviews on YouTube about this experience, you'll see most people are not fans. But because it's cheaper than staying in a hotel for 2 days in southern Florida, I just decided, let's try this out. These comments are on that video. The first one is from the Uber Cruisers. They write, in February earlier this year, we wanted to go to Key West, Florida, and found the accommodation really expensive, starting at around $500 per night. With the cost of a hire car plus food, etc., the total cost was going to be over $1,400 for just 2 nights. Then we spoke to our travel agent, and they found a 4-night cruise out of Miami on the Carnival Conquest going to Key West for only $920 for both of us. That was a no-brainer decision. Yeah, that's one of the things we talked about last week, that if you just have a small window of time, sometimes a cruise is way less expensive than going to an all-inclusive land resort or going to a beachside resort someplace and then paying for your own food. This was another example. Next comment is from Liz Kochek. Like I said a couple weeks ago, I don't know why when I open the comments in my creator app or on my creator page, I don't get the actual names that appear in the comments. I get these like coded names. I don't know why that is. Anyways, Liz Kochek writes, I can't stop laughing. You are in for a big surprise when you go on Margaritaville. The carpets and linens are soiled and there is rust in the plumbing. Even the food you pay for is terrible. The ship's furniture is falling apart and mismatched. The smoke detector in the cabin was held together with tape. There is barely any light since there are only portals to look out of. I'm no snob and I can't afford to cruise at all except for our annual family reunion on Celebrity with my 91-year-old mom that pays my way along with my 93-year-old aunt and lots of cousins. I can't wait to see your review. I live between Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, still laughing in Delray Beach. Well, Liz, like I said in the video last week, for the price that we paid, I'm not expecting a lot. And I'm very lucky and grateful that this is not the only cruise, not the only vacation style experience I will be having this year. So if it is horrible, as long as I don't like get hepatitis or something, I think I'm gonna be fine. And to tell you the truth, a lot of the points that you wrote here are things that I could also say for our experience on the Cunard Queen Mary. There were broken seats in the theater all over the place. Our balcony was full of rust. The service in the main dining room took forever. And there were stains on the sofa in our cabin as well too. So Cunard and Margaritaville at Sea are totally different, in totally different price ranges and market themselves to two totally different styles of cruisers, but close to the same experience from what you're describing. Final comment is from Großer Michel, which is another sort of negative comment. He writes, I saw a YouTuber's vlog showing a taped over smoke detector in their cabin. I imagine this was because it went off for no reason and taping it off is a cheap solution. Saving money on your cruise is fine, but this is no longer about losing money. It's about losing your life. Thank you for that very dramatic comment, Michel. I'm assuming it has lifeboats. I'm assuming they have fire extinguishers. So will I survive 2 nights on this ship? Subscribe and check back in a few weeks to find out. All right, everybody, thanks for spending this part of your day with me here on the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. I'm Morgan, and I hope to see you back here next week. Bye-bye.